Should you delete social media? Is that the solution to all of your problems? Will your life become more valuable and your time if you do it? That is the question I pose to myself, and granted, it is not a new one. I have definitely seen more content, I feel, from younger creators, Gen Z creators who are doing drastic things like buying dumb phones and really testing out this theory of being offline to see if it helps with their quality of life. It's been such a difficult thing for me to grasp in terms of figuring out how being online impacts me and knowing what to do instead of being online, as well as being okay with accepting that maybe there's just other stuff that I could be doing and it doesn't diminish my creativity by not being a creator. For context, I started my TikTok, I think 4 years ago, a while ago, when everyone was kind of getting into the midst of it and whatever. And the thing that always plagued me as a creative person, and has always plagued me, is this concept of making things that I like to make versus making things that I feel other people will want to see or will want to receive in some way, i.e. like what's popular and what's trending. And if you go to my TikTok, you will see that it has skewed towards this trend of dissecting films, like dissecting scenes from films and giving you lists of films that might inspire you when it comes to feeling a little bit lost in search of your own path. That is a video that got a lot of that gained me a lot of followers and got a lot of likes, which was very surprising. I didn't expect it at all. And that is the thing that I find very frustrating as a creative person, is that you want to make what you like, but there is always this sort of thing, this like incessant rhetoric in the back of your mind that's like, but will other people like it? And so I could see, looking at my content, the stuff that I wanted to make and that I felt really good making was what actually got the least views, and what got more views was this concept that really I didn't think too much about at all. It was just like, this is a scene in a movie that I liked, let me explain why I liked it, and this is why I feel it might benefit you. And this interesting thing happened whereby I started feeling less inspired to create the more followers that I received. And I don't have a crazy amount of followers. Let me just put that out there straight from the bat. Like, I don't have thousands of followers. I think right now I have 1,400 or something followers. And that might not seem a lot to you, but for me, who has just been like struggling with this process of trying to grow and trying to put my voice out there, like, that following in and of itself was very substantial and did mean a lot to me. And the craziest thing happened actually at the end of last year. Rosalia, if you don't know who she is, then you're obviously not on social media or out in the world, but she is easily my muse and the person that I am so inspired by. And she followed me on TikTok. I know, as a 30-something, uttering those words and being so excited that a famous singer followed you on TikTok, it's should be potentially a little bit concerning, but it meant something for me because she had, I think, viewed a video that I'd posted about a quote that she'd said that I felt really moved by, and she was like, I'm gonna follow this random person who I don't know. And that kind of gave me motivation, and I was kind of just like, I'm being recognized and I'm being seen by someone that I admire. Like, that is crazy. And that was sort of part of it for me, which sustained me and kept me going, was this notion of people do see you. And even though your following is like limited in the scheme of like what other people view to be successful, the right people are consuming your content and the right people like what you're doing. There was, however, this like feeling that I had deep down where I felt as though I was just forcing myself sometimes to make content, especially as I was like gaining a new audience that liked the film-based stuff. I just would be watching a movie that I was legitimately enjoying, and then I would see a scene and I'm like dissecting in my head already, oh great, I can put this on TikTok, I can put it in this kind of angle, this way, I'm sure like people would really like to see it. And I know that doesn't seem anything like quintessentially wrong with wanting to make things that other people will receive well. It's just, as a creative person, there comes a moment when you just kind of, you say to yourself very honestly, like, do I actually enjoy this? And more to the point, like, am I getting value not only out of creating, but of consuming other people's content as well? Like, what is the point in all of this? And yes, that it is a very kind of deep question to ask, but the place that I've come to with social media and with putting things online is, if I am not deriving any real kind of value from this, if I don't see this stuff as substantial for myself, then why should I be like shoving it in other people's faces as well? It just, I don't know, it was really clashing with my values, and that in and of itself wasn't sitting well with me. And a few things happened that have kind of brought me to this position, and one of them, which I really like to share because I feel it is so important, is a moment where my wonderful ex-partner was sitting next to me, and I was busy like head down in my phone, like editing, and just because when I was editing a video, I know this sounds stupid, but like I was really enmeshed and in the zone of it. Like I would just get locked into what I was doing, right? And I kind of had an idea of what time I wanted to post this piece of content, you know, this like monumental piece of content. And he was asking me, because he was always so curious about everything that I was creating, which is, I believe, what a partner should, how they should be, right? That's like a really lovely thing. And he said to me, oh, what are you making? And I said to him, I was like, oh, I'll show you after. And he said to me, you always say this, and you don't show it to me. And I often have to go and watch these videos and hear about your thoughts and your reflections, like almost like in the distance. Like it's as though you'd rather like make the video and share it with strangers instead of like telling me your thoughts. And that was a real profound moment whereby I just really took that in and had no other reply but, yeah, like, you know, you're so right. Like, it's exactly what I do. And I felt so guilty about that, because here was this person that was so willing to receive any thought that I had about anything. And his input was always incredibly valuable to me. But I would much rather like zone out of our interaction for however long it would take to make a piece of content and have other people like or critique it or save it or whatever, repost it. Like that imbalance and that kind of the way that I was removed from connection and of reality, just, I don't know, it was something that I really took to heart and that I thought about for a while. And it was interesting because after he had made that comment to me, which was so true, because the amount of times I had written something about a reflection that I'd had and I'd never even had a conversation with him about it was crazy. Like, it happened so often I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. And the next day or a couple days after, I was watching, I think it was YouTube Shorts, and it was this creator. This is absolutely no shade or any hate directed towards this particular person. It's just an observation. She was in her car And I don't follow this person. I don't know who she is or what she's about, but I believe she's a quite like faith-based creator. She was sharing with her viewers that she had been really struggling with her mental health and that she was keeping it together in front of everyone, like her audience, but she really wasn't okay, and that she was slipping back into depression and that she was depressed. And she then said at the end of the video, I'm going to share this with my friends at a later time. And I don't know the timeline of this. Maybe she shared with her friends before she posted the video, but I just found it really interesting to use that piece of content as an example of how, when it comes to the world of social media, like this relationship that creators have with audiences is this kind of warped version of reality whereby like you feel like you're connecting and divulging and being really honest, but you're doing that at a cost of not actually sharing things with the people that really care about you and that, more to the point, like really know you and know who you are. I know there is this sense of value that can be derived from an online community, and that there is a lot that can be shared and that can be received within that relationship. But in my experience, honestly, for what it's worth, you cannot replace like the person sitting in front of you who wants to hear about how you're feeling and who wants to support you in a very real way. Like that is irreplaceable. And it doesn't matter if it is one person, a few people, 10 people. The weight of that, in my opinion, means so much more than a high number of followers that you see like on your screen or on your dashboard. And so after I had all of these sort of like reflections on content creating and the impact that I was trying to make, the conclusion that I came to was that my impact within the online world is one that I want to be of substance. And I'm proud with everything that I put forward on TikTok, regardless of like my small following, because I know the intent that I put behind what I was making, and that will always be consistent throughout anything that I ever create. It is just though, if I'm telling everyone about authenticity and being mindful and being present and the importance of being connected and relationships, I have to properly embody that in my real life. It's not enough for me to make content, to spend hours editing and recording and actually taking time out of the real world to reflect this back to you. Like I have to live it out. More so, like more than anything, purely for my own sense of personal integrity. Because I know I'm very guilty sometimes of talking the talk, but not walking the walk. And I don't want to be that person. Like when I say something, I want to mean what I say. And I just found personally in this effort that I was making in trying to put out content that was intentional and that was getting people to reflect, I was not really present in my own life. And more to the point, I wasn't really living a life that was aligned with my own values. The thing I think that has bothered me the most in my whole journey, because I have been blogging since 2009. I had 2 blogs. I don't have them anymore. But this constant desire to keep up and to keep reinventing myself and shape-shifting alongside all of the changes in content and apps and that kind of stuff, it has not made me a more creative person. I know that's controversial to say, but it is what I believe to be the truth. Like, it has not changed my relationship to my inner world, more to the point. It has rather been, I believe, more detrimental. Because what I've continued to do by being online and by trying to be a content creator in my own way, even though I admire the effort that I put in from my own standpoint, it's really just been a draining experience, and I don't feel closer to having cultivated the life that I actually want for myself and the life that I actually find inspiring. And so often, the thing that I think bothers me in my effort to keep up subconsciously is that whenever I had a creative idea, whenever I had an idea for a video, or just whenever I had an idea for something that I wanted to do in my life, a thought that I had in the back of my mind is, how could this translate to content? And that really grossed me out, to be quite honest. Like the fact that I couldn't just live out these things in my day to day and try and see how they could impact me in a positive way without feeling the need to think about it from a content point of view is just, I don't know, crazy to me. Like, had I become so far removed from reality, and have we become so far removed from reality that we're no longer thinking about our inner world and how we can manage our relationship with that and the outer world, but we're also factoring in audiences and online communities? It was just a very sobering thought, I guess, is what I'm trying to come to. I cannot lie. I think I have come to this realization at many different moments in my life, and particularly with social media, and I want to say especially Instagram, is whenever I'm going through a difficult time in my life, my immediate reaction is like retract, withdraw. Like, I don't want to be seen online, but also I don't want to see what other people are doing that I know, because that I know will like warp my sense of reality and what is true. So true to form, I recently deactivated my Instagram. However, I knew my motivations were different this time around. I have to say right off the bat, I did not want to compare myself or my timeline anymore to the people around me. I was so sick of doing that. And even though logically, and as someone who I think has a pretty good head on their shoulders, I knew that I was just seeing snapshots of other people's lives, but I couldn't deny that it bothered me. It really did. And even though I know Instagram is more than just like a photo reel sharing platform, it's also like how we communicate and connect with one another, I just thought to myself, like, am I getting anything worthwhile out of this anymore? Because it doesn't feel that way. And so despite all the other times that I've done this, I said to myself this time around, I'm just going to try it, but I'm actually going to try it. I'm not going to do it for like the 3 weeks that I think is like the classic time period where people experiment with being offline or off social media for. I said, I'm going to do this with the intention of not disappearing to disappear, but I'm doing it with the intention of making my own life for myself, especially in relation to my inner world, more fulfilling and more nourishing. And just, I don't want to like escape into that stuff anymore. I want to feel like my own life, the way that it is in this physical form, is like a happy and a good place to be, a safe place to be. So that was Instagram gone. TikTok, however, it just, there was something that was just kind of like bothering me in the back of my mind about stepping away from it, because again, and I will keep reiterating, I know it is not about followers. It has never been about followers for me especially. But like, I kind of carved out something niche for myself with what that I had done, and it felt like a bit precious to me. And the idea of stepping away from it, I really kind of had this panicked thought of, what if I'm stepping away and I'm not seeing the potential of this to springboard it like onto something else? And what if I miss this opportunity? And like, what if Rosalia never sees my content anymore? So what I did, and I just thought this exercise was really interesting, and you might feel somewhat inspired to try in your own life. It is not mine, by the way. It's this chair exercise, and it came from an episode of a podcast I was listening to from the ABC, which is called All in the Mind. very unrelated to this topic, but the podcast was discussing this idea of like, do you want to have a child or do you not want to have a child, and how to weigh up those options if you're at that particular stage of life. That aside, she mentioned this exercise to people who were trying to decide between yes or no to children. And it was to have 2 chairs, and you do this on your own, by the way, no one else present. You sit them opposite each other, and you sit on one chair in the position of, yes, I want to do this, and these are all the reasons why. And you say it as though that is your choice. And then to counteract that, you go and sit on the other chair and you say all the reasons against why you shouldn't do that thing, and why it's a no, and why you feel strongly that you shouldn't do it. After I listened to that podcast, I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this with... After I listened to that episode, I thought to myself, I'm going to try this with TikTok. And it's so, I know, it's a ridiculous exercise, like in the scheme of things that I could be doing that are more important to use this exercise for. It is ridiculous that I was using it to whether or not I should take a break from TikTok, but it's what I did. So I sat on the chair for why I should keep it, and why I should keep persisting and posting and like making something out of the content that I want to make. And all of my answers were exactly what I predicted. It gives me a creative outlet. It makes me feel seen. It gives me a window into other people's experiences. I find cool things. I find out things that I didn't know about before. Blah, blah, blah. Like all those things along the lines of like, it nourishes me creatively. When I sat on the other chair, and I thought this was really interesting, my energy just completely shifted, and I dropped fully into this like resonance of how crap it actually made me feel. And what I found myself saying was, it depletes me. I feel horrible when I'm on it for too long, which is what always happens. Even if I tell myself I'm not going to be on there for long, it takes away my time. It makes me compare where I'm at with other people. It actually dulls my creativity because I feel like I'm losing my original way of thinking and of doing things. And even though I knew the other side of the chair had valid points and that I agreed with those points, it was sort of the power and, again, the resonance of what I was saying when I was in the other side that made me really understand how much it actually wasn't providing as much value as what I thought it was. And that's kind of where I'm at, and it's perfect timing because I was watching this film, and if you haven't seen this film, you really should check it out. And I'm sorry, this is like another little random bit of information here, but I was watching Sound of Metal, and there was a scene in it which was all about stillness and being able to sit with yourself. Highly recommend this film. If you haven't seen it, again, it's Sound of Metal. I did what I normally did because I was like, you know what, people would really get so much out of this notion of being able to sit with yourself and sit in the stillness of life and, blah, blah, blah. I edited it, I put it on TikTok, I went to bed, opened up my phone the next morning, and I had like 4 views or something. And I said to myself, well, that's kind of weird. Like usually like I don't get a crazy amount, but like more than that. And some copyright thing had happened, like the sound got removed, like rendering the whole video just pointless. And the irony of it was that the point of that video was to tell you, or my audience, I should say, all about how we miss valuable opportunities to be with ourselves and to sit with ourselves. And in that process, we miss seeing what's like right in front of us. We always think the grass is greener somewhere else. We always think there are other possibilities, and it detracts from our very ability to just be where we are and to enjoy that, more importantly. And so the fact that this video didn't work for whatever reason, and that TikTok deemed it to be in violation of some copyright, whatever, I was like, you know what? perfect. I'm out. Like, I'm done, because this does not inspire me anymore. I feel so overwhelmed by the noise of it all. And even if I'm going to be behind in trends, and even if I won't be able to communicate with someone younger than me with just TikTok sounds alone, I think I'm going to be okay, you know. And so that's my decision. I'm sharing with you here that I am removing myself from TikTok for a little bit. I think I'm just going to leave my account there, to be honest. I like what I made, and I want people to still get something from it if they happen to find a video. It's just, I have no interest at this point in time in participating in the rat race. It is all very well and good, right, for me to say all of this, and the truth is, who's to say in 3 months' time or however months' time that I won't change my mind, that I won't make content again, that I won't be re-inspired and re-energized to want to do this all over again, but in a different way. I know that's a possibility, and I'm very open to that, in the sense of, we're all human, and just because I say something in a video doesn't mean it's going to be like this forever, right? I do just feel I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my experience with both my inner and outer worlds to really see this through, and to see the potential in what can happen if I tune in more, if I pay attention to how I'm feeling instead of like blindly listening to these short form content videos and things all the time. Like, what would it look like? How would it feel if I found like a new place and a new way to be creative? The myth of it all, and I know this is so, this contradicts everything that we have been told as creative people and as just people in general who consume things online. The idea is that if you do not have a strong following, if you do not have a means of putting forth your work out there and having it received in a big way, then you can't be successful. You can't make a product that will sell well. You can't write a book. You can't do all of these things. And I am just like, well, let's see if I can, you know, like, let's see if I can do all the things that I have been telling myself for so long now that I'm going to do, but have spent time procrastinating, consuming content, not doing, you know? And that's where I'm at. I feel very at peace with it, which is how I know I've made the right decision. Despite, I think, maybe some people receiving this video in a way where you're like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's just social media. Like, you'll probably be on it in a few weeks' time. Like, who cares if you deactivate your account? Not I. I do think this is a big deal. I'm not saying this as an older person, like speaking down to you if you are in fact younger. I'm not saying this in like a teacher authoritative way of like, being online is bad for your mental health. I genuinely believe that we're losing touch and we're losing sight of what is important in our lives. It personally took me at this vulnerable state that I find myself in right now, and of asking myself, like, shit, like, what kind of life do I actually want to have? And more importantly, like, what does it look like? And what would I be doing in that dream life? And how would I feel? And all of this stuff that I know I can only discover if I just sit in the stillness of it all. It took me asking those big questions and not knowing the answers to realize that I needed to do something new. And if you follow my content, I am on the journey of doing things in a different way. And I guess that is the whole point of this. It's just like, I can keep continuing to make content and adapt and follow trends and hashtags and this and that. But if it's not feeding you, it's not feeding your soul, more to the point, then what is it for? Like, what is any of this for? I am keeping YouTube because I believe and I hope long form content will reign supreme. If you're still listening to this, I think it says a lot about you. And I think it says that you're willing to sit through more than a 3-minute video just to maybe, I don't know, surprise yourself with the fact that you can not only process more than short form content, but the fact that you're open to it, right? So yeah, I don't know how this is going to evolve. I hope I can document it, and not in a way to kind of sell you a lifestyle, but I want to do it so that I feel more of us can feel it's okay to just be honest with ourselves and to just drop the guard that we've kind of had and have, you know, and just all the ways we've felt like we've needed to keep up. You don't need to keep up. I'm just telling you now. You don't need to keep up with anything or anyone. Let's get back to basics.